Before we get into this video, I just want to quickly show you this app. It's called Paired. I talk about this later in the video, but it is a tool we really do use in our relationship to stay connected and understand each other on a deeper level, which is especially important in neurodivergent relationships. So I'm grateful to them for sponsoring this video. Stick around to learn more about it. Hello, brains. Oh yeah, do you want to do it with me?
I mean, I can.
We can do 1, 2, 3, hello, brains.
I mean, it's tradition at this point that we stumble this part.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Hello, brains.
I am back with my fiance, that happened, and father of my child.
Put a ring on it.
Dr. B, aka Raphael, aka person at, I don't remember what to say. You introduce yourself.
I'm the owner and the CEO and a psychologist at SavePoint Behavioral Health, a geek and gamer focused psychology practice in the Seattle, Washington area.
And from a mental health perspective, I have ADHD and anxiety and now postpartum depression, which we're going to talk about.
Autism, ADHD, and it turns out PTSD.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of why we're talking about our relationship being on hard mode, but it's not all of it. We also just had a baby. We're going through some job changes. There's a lot of transitions happening in our life. It's my first time being a mom. It's also my first time really around babies. I had to learn how to baby, as I think did you, right?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I've worked with a lot of kids, but they were verbal.
We are, I think, in a really strong place right now. So we wanted to talk about like what it is that we've been dealing with and what are some strategies that we've been using to cope. If you're going through any major transition, it's usually, especially in our community, not just that transition you're coping with.
Listen, okay, there's easy mode and then there's the choices we make.
But this is, I think, really common for people who are neurodivergent in neurodivergent relationships is there's a lot going on at once. There's a lot, like you're moving and changing jobs and you decided to write a book and you decided to have a kid. Like it's very rare that I see in this community that people do one hard thing at a time and like do it at a reasonable pace. But even if you do, right? Even if all we had done was decide to have a baby, it's still—
I mean, that would have been hard enough.
It would have been hard enough and it still exacerbated other things.
I knew academically that major life changes shift the way various mental health challenges, whether it's, autism, PTSD, ADHD, that shifts the way it's framed in your life. I was not prepared for the intensity of that, especially when I was dealing with all the other stuff on top of having a baby. The baby was just kind of the icing on the cake for both my autism and, it turns out, I didn't realize, PTSD. Routines were absolutely crucial for me to maintain a sense of wellness. And it turns out babies destroy that.
Yeah, I forgot how bad that was.
Yeah, no, that was bad.
It was a really rough period of time because right after having a baby, like our routines just exploded. Babies can't tell time, it turns out, and neither can I really. Like I struggle with time management myself. Suddenly
we have not only a new situation, but this new being. It adds a lot of urgency to things that made the existing tools largely obsolete. Basically, we had to rebuild our tool belt.
I had a really good understanding of how my brain works, and I have coping strategies. I have tools for my ADHD challenges, and I feel like a lot got exposed after having a baby. Like there was a lot of extra pressure now on my executive function because now I wasn't just managing my time and my needs and everything. It was like this tiny human and I had to pay attention to what she needed. And the struggles that I already had kind of got amplified because I didn't have as much time to be able to apply these tools and strategies. It really shone a light on like how time consuming a lot of my strategies were or how expensive once we had to like look at the budget and how do we afford a baby and like, can I still afford these accommodations? Can I still afford these tools?
A lot of my coping strategies involve slowing down and time, taking an entire day to work on a hobby because it slows down. My brain doesn't work as fast as yours. I can't do that anymore, and we have to retool that.
We didn't have the time that we needed to do the normal coping strategies that we usually engage in. We had to figure that out and fast. And the stakes could not have been higher, right? Because like if I wasn't okay, it was really hard for my baby to be okay.
For us, we had a lot of solid strategies in place previously. And we spent years building those strategies up, respectively, in some cases decades. So it had to get pretty bad, and we had to be honest about that this is going to require a lot of change, and that we're going to have to re-examine a lot of things from the past and the present in order to change those things. Basically, we had to rebuild our tool belt.
The first thing that went out the window for me was any form of self-care. There was like this form that we would fill out when my daughter was in the NICU, the step-down NICU, and we were taking care of her, where we had to log what time she ate and when she napped and when she pooped and all of that. And we would log everything related to her care and like, what does she need? Is she getting what she needs? And I realized really quickly, like, I wasn't taking my pain meds. I wasn't taking like one day I missed my ADHD meds, and that was a really bad day.
That was a very bad day.
I realized that I wasn't able to take care of myself anymore because it was like my brain had just been taken over. It was like this extreme form of hyper focus of like, keep the kid alive, keep the kid alive, keep the kid alive. And it was like, I couldn't actually pay attention to me. So I put supports in place. I had my aunt come up and help me for a week. Rolf was off work. And I thought that I'd be okay because I just needed help with the baby, right? And my aunt was really great with babies, super happy to come and help with the baby. I actually didn't need help with the baby. That was really surprising for me. I was able to take care of the baby.
Yeah, you needed help with you.
I needed somebody to take care of me. Yeah. I basically needed a
I didn't
nurse.
realize that either. I was also in got to take care of the baby mode.
Right. So I'm like, let's take care of the baby. My aunt's like, let's take care of the baby. He's like, let's take care of the baby. And I'm like, I can't sit up. Like, I can't feed myself.
We didn't. It was absolutely ridiculous what went out the window for that. And for me, it was any semblance of predictability.
Sleep went out the window immediately, which you know, right? Like, everybody's like, oh, you don't get any sleep. But like,
people don't necessarily understand how important, how crucial sleep is for, first of all, everybody, but even more so for those of us who struggle with emotional dysregulation, because cognitive and emotional dysregulation is often the first thing to go when you lack sleep. And if you've already got challenges with emotional dysregulation, then...
And we were both desperately like trying to figure out how to be okay and clawing toward being okay. And sometimes the way that I was doing that was really problematic for him. And sometimes the way that he was trying to do it was really problematic for me. It got really bad. It was not just that we were each struggling personally, but we were struggling interpersonally. Like there were some cracks in our relationship and we were not doing okay. We realized like for us to survive as a couple, as a family, as individuals, like we needed to take some kind of extreme action. Like we needed to put some strategies in place, some new tools, some new strategies that were appropriate to what we were going through now.
Other major life transitions, the tools we had in place were built for a different situation.
And for me, I was so exhausted because I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was putting out so much energy that I'm not used to putting out, trying to keep this tiny human alive. And I needed a lot of support that I wasn't getting the way that I needed. And so when on top of it, he'd be like, well, why do you need this? Then I had to exert more energy to explain to him why it's what I needed. And that was really tough.
And it became a feedback loop that essentially, you know, my challenges fed into yours and then yours fed into mine. And we would spiral. And that's a not uncommon experience for people going through major life transitions, especially couples.
So for full disclosure, like I ended up with postpartum depression really fast, hit me really hard. And I ended up in a partial hospitalization program, which was really rough, but I think was kind of a godsend.
And in a lot of ways,
in a lot of ways, because he would be able to drop me off every day, and then I would get the help that I needed. I would work with these therapists on CBT and DBT. We learned about something called the circle of security, which I will probably make a video about because it's amazing, but in the meantime, I will link to it in the description. It's basically like how to parent in a healthy way when maybe you didn't have a great example of that growing up. So let's talk about what tools we used and still use to kind of get us through that hard period that are still applicable now.
Yeah.
The first one I think was getting really real and honest with ourselves and other people about how much we were struggling and putting some super solid boundaries in place. I think this was hard for you to hear sometimes, but I was like, I am not okay. I need you to put some boundaries in place.
I didn't fully understand what you meant because prior to having a child, I was actually kind of bad at putting boundaries in place. I was not as assertive as I find I am now.
Boundaries can be really uncomfortable to communicate because we don't want to disappoint people and we don't want to offend people. And like we tend to both be people pleasers, as many people in this
we're in
community
helping
are.
Professions.
Usually we're willing to give at our own expense, but having a child changed that because now it wasn't just at our expense.
Not at my expense.
It was at our child's expense and it was at our partner's expense.
One of the challenges previously was navigating people's disappointment, anger, or otherwise at us setting boundaries. But now it's a question of who would I rather let down? You or my daughter, and you do not win.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even between the two of us, we both run businesses. We understand having flexible schedules, and sometimes you have to give more than what you expect. But our baby doesn't understand that, nor should she need to.
We had to be realistic about our time and what we were capable of.
Yeah.
Setting boundaries even around like what kinds of experiences I was able to have. So when I was really on this hormonal roller coaster, I realized that I can't have like really exciting experiences right now. So anybody I was really excited to introduce my daughter to, I actually had to tell them, I need you to wait because I need to stabilize first. Not just because it was very hard to host when I literally couldn't sit up or get downstairs, but also because I just wasn't emotionally in a place where I could handle the highs and lows of having people come over and being excited to meet the baby and then like the crash after they were gone. So I actually had to aim for like borings because here's the thing, we don't choose our boundaries. We only choose whether or not to communicate them. Because I didn't choose what my capacity was. I didn't choose what my limits are. I didn't choose what was and wasn't okay for me emotionally. I just chose to tell people that. I just chose to be honest about it. And I was able to do it because I needed to.
We had to make choices because we could no longer do all the things. We had to really get okay with not doing things and making clear-cut choices of this or this, not this and this. And that was a hard thing for, I think, both of us.
The second strategy that we really used was what?
Oh, division of labor, equitable division of labor. Not equal, but equitable.
So this mindful, equitable division of labor was really important for us. And I think we kind of wanted to get off on the right foot initially. So I grew up in a home where the division of labor was really, really imbalanced. And my mom was doing everything, and my dad was going to work and coming home, and he was done for the day while she, on crutches, would like go around scrubbing the kitchen. I watched this really inequitable division of labor, and I watched my mom like just really not be okay and then try to get that equitable division of labor later and it not going well because a certain pattern had already been established. It was really important to me just from the beginning to be like, okay, who's doing what? I want to make sure we both feel good about what we're each doing. And it doesn't have to look like standard gender roles, or it can. The important thing is
that we can choose what it is.
Yeah, so I'm choosing what I'm committing to, you're choosing what you're committing to.
And playing to our strengths.
There's things that I enjoy, there's things that he enjoys. And so we started using this system called the Fair Play system.
The Fair Play deck, yeah, that thing was fantastic.
It's basically a deck of cards, and each card represents an area of responsibility in running your household. So you have these cards, you figure out which ones are relevant to you as a couple, and then you divide them up. And if something's really important to you, then that should probably be your card. You should be responsible for that area. Mm-hmm. You want to have like an equitable distribution of cards. So like there's some tasks that are a daily grind task where you're having to do it a lot. Laundry needs to happen, dishes need to happen, trash needs to go out, things like that. And so you want to make sure that each person kind of gets an equal amount of daily grind cards or an equitable amount of daily grind cards. I'll link in the description below.
Great system for us.
To the Fair Play deck. But like whether you use that or a different system, I think it's really helpful to mindfully assign and then reevaluate on a regular basis. We do it once a week. We go out to dinner on Friday
and that's
nights.
One of our rituals, actually. That's become one of our rituals.
Yeah. All right. So that brings us to the next point, which is having routines and rituals that help us connect as a couple. It is so hard to remember that this person exists when I've got like hyper focus on baby, right? We use an app called Paired that is phenomenal if you are neurodivergent and want to focus on your relationship. It's an added ritual. It's a ritual that we do every day to like answer these questions about our relationship that otherwise like we wouldn't be thinking about that right now. There's too much else on our plate. So it kind of reminds us like, hey, you have a relationship that you should work on, and gives you like these little really manageable ways to work on it. Here, let me show you. Every day there are daily questions to answer, and it doesn't take very long at all. You go through, answer the questions. Sometimes I'm like, how is this going to help my relationship? And there's a little drop down that explains how answering this question will help your relationship. You answer the question, and if your partner has already answered it, you can see right away. If not, you can nudge them. There are questions, quizzes, games, reminders that it's not about winning. There's also a timeline feature, which is great for remembering important dates and feeling good about your journey as a couple. This is a fantastic feature that I would really like to start using again because it's easy for those of us with ADHD to forget important dates. But also, we tend to base our assessment of our relationships on what's happening now and forget about how it's been going overall. Being able to look back over the course of a relationship is really helpful. I love that the Paired app is quick, fun to use, the questions and quizzes are super short, it's backed by experts in the field, and the return on investment is really good. Just taking 5 to 10 minutes a day to answer a few questions and read each other's answers helps us feel a lot more connected. I find it reassuring when we're on the same page, and when answers pop up that are surprising, it's a great conversation starter. It's something that even as new parents, we manage to find time for on a daily basis for the most part. And on the days that we miss, we get streak freezes, which helps us not be too perfectionistic about it. If you'd like to try the Paired app, click my link below to get a 7-day free trial and 25% off Paired Premium to deepen your connection with your partner. I highly recommend it, especially if you're anything like me and especially if you also have a new baby. It's really tough to connect as a couple when you've got a new infant and hyperfocus, right? Like I tend to hyperfocus when I'm excited about a project. A baby is like new and novel and exciting and urgent. Like
Very
everything's urgent. So my hyperfocus is just in overdrive. I am like hyperfocused on the baby, info dumping to him about the baby. Having regular built-in routines, like we go out every Friday night. His mom watches the baby while we get to go out and have dinner together.
Every week.
Yeah, but well, most weeks.
Most weeks.
Most weeks. Well, we have ADHD. Let's not commit to every week.
That was
that
ambitious.
level of consistency is just.
But we do go out every Friday.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Even if it's just a local low key hangout, we still leave the house together.
Yeah. All of that to say, like, we have these really solid strategies in place that are really helping us. We're in a stronger place, I think, than we've ever been as a couple.
As hopefully it goes. You find a challenge, you get through it, you're in a stronger place.
Yeah. But, the caveat being, like, there are still challenges. It's still tough. We're still adjusting to the impact on our relationship. Yeah, there's still things that are hard. Like time management is harder now than it's ever been for me.
That kid does not obey a clock.
Self-care is so hard. I've been trying to schedule an appointment for an eye doctor because I need to get more contacts for like a month and I still haven't done it. I woke up this morning and like my eyelid is swollen and I'm just like, I really should replace these contacts. But like, it's so hard to take care of myself right now. It's hard to prioritize that in the face of this like urgent, exciting new novel squirming baby. What do you feel like you're still struggling with?
It's not any one thing that I feel like I'm still struggling with, because what I'm still struggling with is all my old stuff just in a different form because it's a different context. And with every new challenge becomes this new process of reinvention and self-improvement. It's the same old. I need routine. I need space, set switching. With the PTSD, hypervigilance, feeling unsafe. It's just in a very different framework now. It becomes an ongoing process. This is going to be a never-ending process.
Thank you so much for hanging out, watching this video. Thank you to my brain advocates and all my Patreon brains for supporting the work that we do on this channel. I hope this was enlightening. I hope some of these tools and strategies were helpful for you. But I do want to answer this question that people have kind of asked, like, would you do it again? There's a lot of people who are like, I'm nervous about having kids. Like, I have ADHD and I don't know how this is going to go. Like, would you do it again? Yes.
In a heartbeat.
Yes. It's been worth it. It's been super hard, but it's been super worth it.
Super worth it.
And we do plan on doing it again. Thank you so much to the Paired app for sponsoring this video. Click my link below to get a 7-day free trial and 25% off Paired Premium to deepen your connection with your partner. Like, subscribe, click all the things, and we'll see you next video. 1, 2, 3, bye, brains.
1, 2, 3, bye, brains.
1, 2, 3.
Bye, brains.